On the night of January 14th, 2009, a crime happened and shocked the city of Americana in Brazil. It was around 7 p.m. when neighbors of the house where the Tempesta family's office operated heard numerous gunshots. The police were called, and when they arrived at the scene, they found the bodies of the couple Robson and Ana Paula Tempesta. According to the forensics, 15 shots were fired at the victims. At first, the police thought it was a robbery gone wrong, but they soon noticed that nothing had been stolen, implying that the criminals went to the place just to take their lives. In conversation with witnesses, the police discovered that the couple had two small daughters, Camila Fernanda Duca Tempesta and Laura Flavia Duca Tempesta. They also discovered that the two were with their parents at the time of the crime and that they were taken by the criminals. This raised the suspicion that the crime could have been a kidnapping that went wrong, and even so the criminals decided to take the children. The witnesses also said that hours before they heard the shots, they saw two employees from Robson's company entering the premises. The property where the crime took place didn't show any signs of a break-in, and adding to this, plus this witness report, the police considered the idea that whoever committed the crime was an acquaintance of the family. The biggest concern now was knowing who and where Camila and Laura were. The family was hopeful that the two girls would be returned safely and would be well. However, around 7 a.m. the next day, a farmer found the bodies of two children in a ditch on the sides of a highway in a town called Elias Fausto, which was about 43 miles from Americana, the town where the family lived. This farmer immediately communicated the authorities, who quickly went to the place. Later, on the same day, it was verified what everyone already suspected. The bodies found belonged to Camila and Laura, daughters of the couple Robson and Ana Paula Tempesta. This discovery further shocked the city and the entire region. Who could be responsible for something so brutal? According to a coroner's report, the kidnappers took the lives of the two girls by suffocation about 6 hours after they were taken from the house where the office of their parents' company operated. In a search for the place where the girls were found, the police found plastic belts that were used as seals that were used in the crime against them. The whole family was veiled and buried in a cemetery in the city of Santa Barbara do Oeste, a neighboring city of Americana. Family and friends were devastated by what happened. Robson's father and grandfather of the girls, José Geraldo Tempesta, even gave an interview in which he said he felt defeated and that he hoped that God would help him to get up. Due to the repercussion of the case, more than 700 people attended to the funeral ceremony. With the discovery of the girls' bodies, the theory that those responsible for the crime were known to the family gained even more strength, since for the police, the reason the kidnappers did this to them was because they recognized who had killed their parents. Technicians from the scientific police and police from the Department of Homicide and Protection of People returned to the house where the crime took place, and there, they carried out a new scan, took pictures and collected documents that were taken for analysis. According to them, the main hypothesis about the motivation of the crime was revenge to settle scores. Robson and Ana Paula Tempesta, in addition to being married, were also partners in a company that held events with vehicles known as Bigfoot, vehicles adapted with large wheels to maneuver and crush other cars. The police discovered that Robson was responding to cases of embezzlement in the city of Americana. He also spent time in prison for recepting. They also discovered that Robson owed money to a lot of people and didn't pay, including numerous publications in a community called I've Already Been Scammed on Orkut, the most popular social media at the time, in which several people said they had been harmed by him and that soon things would go bad for him. There was even a dummy profile with the name Camila Duca Tempesta, the couple's eldest daughter, whose description said, "I'm the newest cheater in the gang, but I'm learning straight from dad and mom." Finally, after the death of the family, a statement was published in the community in which it said, "I come here to inform all interested parties that Robson Douglas Tempesta and his wife were killed on January 14th. It was clear that Robson Tempesta made many enemies in the business, but even so, the outcome of it all was very disproportionate and the population and family members wanted an answer. Due to the information that witnesses gave about having seen Robson's employees at the house moments before the crime, the police decided to call all employees connected to the company to give a testimony. During this process, all the employees called collaborated, except one, Celso Pereira de Assis, who always gave an excuse for not showing up at the police station. Another employee named Bruno Palumbo told the police that he and Celso left the house where the company office was located around 6 p.m. Then they went to a gas station and stayed at a convenience store drinking beer and then left. Bruno with his motorcycle and Celso with his car. On the way, Celso's car would have broken down and it was raining a lot. Bruno lent his motorcycle to Celso, who according to him went to the city of Campinas at his home and then returned to the place with his wife Fabiani. Fabiani then, with the help of a tow truck, returned to Campinas with Celso's car, and he and Bruno returned to the gas station where they were before. That was because, according to Bruno, Celso was going to meet with someone to receive an amount referred to a vehicle he had sold. At Robson's company, Bruno worked as a mechanic, while Celso worked as a pilot. After the testimony of family members, employees and friends of the family, the police decided to monitor the phones of everyone who could have some connection with the crime. During that time, they noticed that Bruno and Celso avoided talking about the crime in the calls, and that only once did Bruno mention the subject, saying he was very worried. After gathering various information with the help of witnesses, expertise, and telephone monitoring, the police decided to search Bruno and Celso's homes. At Celso's house, the police found plastic belts similar to those used in the crime against the girls, and a CD that contained intimate photos of Robson and Ana Paula Tempesta. Asked by the police why he was in possession of those photos, Celso declined to say that other people owned that CD, and that those same people were responsible for the crime. The police obviously realized that he was lying. Celso, then knowing that there was no other way, decided to confess. At first, he only confessed to the crime against Robson and Ana Paula, claiming that the girls had been handed over to a couple he knew. Later, when he was already in prison, he decided to confess to everything else. Celso said that the motivation for the crime was a debt of 16,000 reals that Robson owed him and didn't pay. This amount would be related to wages for his services provided as a pilot for the victim's company. The police also discovered that Bruno Palumbo, a mechanic at the victim's company, and Fabiani dos Santos Pinheiro, Celso's wife, also participated in the crime, and through the testimony of the three involved and other information, it was possible to find out what happened. On the day of the facts, January 14, 2009, Celso had scheduled a meeting with Robson and Ana Paula Tempesta in the house where the family business office was located. The purpose of this meeting would be for him and Robson to reach an agreement on the amounts that the businessman owed him. Celso also demanded that the meeting be private, without the presence of any other employees besides him. Robson and Ana Paula found this requirement strange and asked that two other employees stay nearby. The employees were a man and a woman. The man stayed in a square and the woman in a convenience store of the gas station. Around 6:30 p.m., Celso arrived at the place along with Bruno. Celso entered the house to talk to Robson and Ana Paula, while Bruno stayed outside with Camila and Laura, who were playing in the garage. According to the police, Celso would have tried to blackmail the couple with the intimate photos that he had of the two, in the intention of their receiving their money. Celso had obtained these photos through a notebook that he had stolen from the couple without them knowing. At that moment, an argument would have started, and Robson would have gone after Celso, who drew his gun, a .380 pistol, and shot the couple 15 times. Then, Celso left the house, and with Bruno's help, he decided to take the couple's two daughters, Camila and Laura. Since he was known to the family, he knew that the children might recognize him as the perpetrator of the crime. He took the children to his home in the city of Campinas, where he lived with his wife Fabiani dos Santos Pinheiro. There, according to Fabiani herself, she would have fed and bathed the girls until Celso decided what he was going to do with them. The girls had already known Celso and Fabiani for a long time, and due to the constant contact they had with them because Celso was an employee at their parents' company, the two girls even called them uncle and aunt. After a few hours with the girls, Celso decided that the best thing to do was to put an end to their lives. He committed the crime in the bathroom of his own house, and around 2 a.m. on January 15, he dumped the bodies in a ditch on the Sugar Highway in the municipality of Elias Fausto. In the days after the crime, Celso went on with his life normally, and as I mentioned before, he avoided having to go to the police station to give his statement. It took the police 13 days to solve the case, and it took 13 days of incessant investigations to give society a quick response. According to one of the delegates in charge of the case, if Celso had been submitted to a radiographic examination to see if there were gunpowder residues in his hands at the beginning of the investigations, he would certainly have been arrested much earlier. Due to the revolt of the population, the accused has to be protected by the police, as there was a high chance of lynching. After the conclusion of the inquiry, the trio were charged and Bruno Palumbo and Fabiani dos Santos Pinheiro were brought to trial. Celso Pereira de Assis, on the other hand, was diagnosed with some psychiatric problems during the process, and his defense managed to have him sent to an asylum to be treated until the day he could be tried for his crimes. On December 6, 2011, the trial of Bruno and Fabiani began, and after 12 hours of deliberation, the two were found guilty. Bruno Palumbo was sentenced to 16 years and 4 months in prison. Fabiani dos Santos Pinheiro was sentenced to 24 years and 10 months in prison. She is currently serving her sentence in a semi-open regime. On December 14, 2018, almost 10 years after the crime, the trial of Celso Pereira de Assis began, and after 9 hours, he was sentenced to more than 70 years in prison. It is said that Bruno and Fabiani cried a lot during the whole process, while Celso showed nothing, not even a hint of remorse. He was described by the police as a man with a violent personality, with above-average intelligence, and no empathy for other people. Alright folks, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching until the end, best wishes, and I see you next time.